Hello, dear friends, and welcome to our podcast dedicated to sight reading through the lens of the historically informed performance practice. My name is Darina and I. Today I have a guest.
Hello, I'm Jean Rondeau. I'm a harpsichord player and play also the organ and piano and different keyboards.
What are you doing here in Basel?
So I played yesterday night in the Münstersaal, a recital with Goldberg Variations by Bach.
Is it your first time in Basel?
No, I came a few times here to play, but I think it was the first solo recital yesterday. I did several chamber music projects here.
Nice. I wanted to ask you because I visited this concert yesterday and the atmosphere was quite magic. And I wanted to ask how you decided to create this atmosphere with the lights and with the position of the audience. Did you have an idea about that, or did you concept that, or it just happened naturally?
Actually, about yesterday, there were not so many possibilities about the setting. Actually, I think they had a pre-established plan for the seatings and the light and stuff, because it's not like a modern concert hall, so there is no lights that you can work on. So it was very simple in a way, but I mean, I tried to feel where the audience is and try to go in the same direction that the audience in order to create a moment of music together.
Yeah, because also knowing the legend or the story behind the Goldberg Variations, that was written for a person who couldn't sleep, that had an insomnia, and probably, we don't know, maybe it's not true. But yes, so I felt that this atmosphere was connected to the story somehow. There was just one big lamp and it was mostly dark around, and this hall with you sitting in front on this little podium, it was quite special, I think, and the listening experience was very special. And I was just asking myself if it was meant to be like that or it just happened by luck.
But actually I could not predict what's gonna happen before the concert. But I think this kind of venue, this kind of size of the hall is very good for the intimacy of the harpsichord, because we are very close by the audience. I think the acoustic was especially great. Everything was very clear, and I think wherever you were in the room you can hear very properly the harpsichord. So this kind of setting could very much help the focusing on the music, because everyone is on the same page, acoustically speaking, because everyone hear everything and you can feel that you are doing a common thing with the people. And
Cool. But also, I wanted to ask you about your relationship with this piece and how it developed. For how long have you been playing this piece, and how did you learn it, and what was the most challenging part?
I just wanted to precise from the previous question that if the idea of the Goldberg was to go to sleep, I think it's not the good piece. It might be legendary because it's very much not the right piece to go to sleep, because it's so rich, so various, and there is so many. It's on the contrary, it's very enlightening and stuff.
Yes, exactly. It's what I read about it. Probably a legend that the person, he was Count. He was from Latvia originally, and I think his name Johann Gottlieb Goldberg, and probably he played those variations for him when he couldn't go to sleep. But the idea was not to go to sleep actually, but just to like enlighten your night hours.
Yeah.
And this boy, probably at the age of 14, played these variations for him. But also in the first prints of Bach, there is no dedication to this person. So that's why we can think that maybe it's a legend.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And yeah, it doesn't mean that you play for before the night or if you could not go to sleep, but it doesn't mean that the purpose is to help you to sleep anyway.
I don't think so.
So yeah, about the relationship with the piece, I played the piece when I was a child, but I didn't practice it. I didn't work on it in a way. I was just reading different variations when I was young and with my teacher. I have a very precise memory of when I approached this piece when I was young, but I didn't say to myself, "Oh, I will practice this piece now." So I started practicing the piece very later on. I think I started in 2016, so 6 years ago. But when I started, I really engaged a very deep and long process about the piece, which I'm still processing.
And what was the most difficult thing about this piece?
It's not a question which should be asked in the past because it still is. I think it's a very long piece, so you have to keep a very deep concentration from the very beginning until the end and not release that, because for example yesterday I did all the repeats, so it's about like 1 hour and 35-40 minutes, so it's quite a long piece, and it's not so often that you have a preconceived program in this period of time which is that long for a solo instrument. So you have to be very focused and concentrate and in the way very prepared before, physically speaking, mentally speaking, and what is also very difficult is to be able to switch your mind to be in the right character for every variations, because for example you have a dance, very precise dance, you have to be in the giusto character for every type of writing which is demanding by every variation. So you have to switch your mind, you have to be polyphrenic in a way, to have different spirit, to be able to get into those different spirit, to be able to be in the right place in the right time.
You mentioned the mental preparation before playing such a concert with such a program. What does include your mental preparation?
For me, the idea with the concentration is to be as much as possible close from the present in order to live a musical present moment. And so you have to find your own ways to do that, and it depends also every day, it's always different, but you have to be very vigilant of how you could do to be as much as possible in the present at the moment of the concert and the playing. So it depends. I have different methods. It's not like preconceived methods, it's just that I try to listen to myself during the day before the concert, and to see where I am and where is my body is, and see what I could or should do to be in the right mood.
Mm-hmm. I'm just a bit nervous that it's not recording anyway. It is recording. Yes. So you mentioned before that you were playing this piece when you were a teenager maybe, and just you were reading this piece. Was it a usual process for you to get acquainted with a musical text, let's say, to just sight read different pieces? How did this process work for you when you were a child?
Yeah, for me, the sight reading has always been very present in my musician life. Since I'm a child, actually, yes, I was reading a lot of music all the time, in parallel of the piece I was working on more precisely. But the sight reading was always there, and also because it was a way to discover the repertoire, which is huge for harpsichord, of course, and so I was always reading, and I think this appetite for the music in general, but with this method of sight reading, was helping me being in the sound, being in the music, being in the... also to develop my techniques, I think. Because I think the main thing I was doing when I was a child was reading a lot of music, which were far much more difficult for me than I should, play. And so it was also a motivation just to discover the music, to be able to play it. So I was constantly reading music, and I think it helps me develop my techniques also, much more than exercise or whatever. And also, as I never practice techniques, even with my teacher, we never did technical approach, never. We were just only on the music and articulations, or just reading some music. And I think the idea of sight reading a lot of music helped me just develop my own techniques. For example, the own fingering, or the way the hand is moving. So I think it's great because it's not like a method which is just apply like this, it's much more flexible approach of the technique. And so I remember very precisely reading a few variations like this, but also just enjoying playing it and enjoying reading this music and discovering the music in real time, and have a lot of emotions and joy, a lot of joy, and being very happy on my harpsichord, and was those instants when you are a child which are memorable.
And you already started with the harpsichord, so you never played the modern piano, let's say.
I started music with harpsichord when I was 6, and then I played the piano around 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah, but do you also play piano now, and like modern or just historical?
I play the modern piano. I play the forte piano. I mean, mostly from 18th century, not 19th century. And but it's a small part of my work because I'm very focused on harpsichord mostly.
Mm-hmm. In this connection, I'm remembering, do you know Sergei Prokofiev? He wrote in his letters and diary that he had a similar experience, as you now said, with reading music. When he was a teenager or a child, he was sight reading a lot, and at that time, in the the end of the 19th century, 20th century, you could go to the conservatory when you were a child, like 13, at the age of 12, 13. And so he was reading a lot and also showing to his teacher. But then he writes that actually it played like kind of a bad joke with him, because he was always sight reading and not really developing the technique. And so he writes that maybe he missed something, like he was reading a lot but never finishing the piece in its perfection, let's say. And so that was his observation. How do you feel about that? Or you can just finish the piece now when you developed your technique?
No, actually, I think working on one piece very deeply in a long process way and sight reading are two different things, It's two different, even mental approach. The brain is not functioning in the same way for the two process. So I think it's great to do that in parallel. You know, if, for example, if you have like a time for practicing, you can do like half an hour of just sight reading. I mean, it's funny because in a way, when I was a teenager, my sight reading was much more. It was much more easier for me to sight read everything because I was sight reading a lot, and now it's a bit less because I sight read a bit less. So it's just practicing like sport. You know, you just develop the brain connection and the body connection, which are appropriate. And so for me, it's two different things, and it's great that it could help one and another. But somehow, sometimes what I like with sight reading is that there is something which you don't have with a piece you worked and you practice a lot, which is very fresh. And actually, if you don't know the piece, you are discovering the piece in real time. So sometimes what I like when it's doable or possible is to sight read in concert a piece that I don't know before. Or I just read the piece but without the instrument. And like this, you have also something so fresh, which is very, very exciting. So for me, it's different approach. And in a way, when I practice a piece like the Goldberg for years and years and a lot of hours of practicing and of reflection about it and construction, I try to find again the freshness of the first time, you know. So the approach and the freshness of the first time and the discovery of a piece is still present in mind during the process, because it's also a goal that you don't reach, but which could help you to progress, to, you know.
Another question is about professional burnout. Do you experience that sometimes?
I'm very careful with that and with myself, and I try because I'm a lucky musician who is asked to play a lot, so I'm very in this very comfortable position where I could also say no to concerts. So it's a luxury, you know, for all the musicians. I mean, we are not all in the same situation. Now I try to be like half of the time at home and half of the time on tour. I take a lot of months off, or 6 months off, or a year off sometimes, you know, in regularly, you know. Mm-hmm. Just to be able not to play too much, to have time with silence, to have time just for practicing without concerts, and there is other period of time where it's very busy, and so I try to find a balance. It's always has been very present in my life of musician, to really be careful of that, because the music could really die also. You can make the music die and take off the life of the music if you don't take steps back and perspective on what you are doing, and if you don't let enough silence in your life in between the music and so on. So for me, it's very important, if I care about the music, if I care about the audience and the composer I play, the music, the sound, etc. I think it's very, very important to find this balance, and I think I've been very much helped by my teacher, Rondeau and I, who from the very beginning was in this approach also, and she was telling me all the time, you should not play too much, you know. So for months sometimes I didn't play, or when I was a bit older, and if I played, you know, I was doing like a run through for an exam or program or a concert, and she was always telling me, okay, from now on you don't play, just go for a walk. Mm-hmm. Don't play too much, mm-hmm. all the time. And I think it's great not to play too much. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. I think it can be very different from what other musicians experience in their childhood. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for being here and thanks for your wonderful recital yesterday. I enjoyed that very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks.